Hello, I'm Barbara Parker, and welcome to 2020 Bolingbrook. With me today are two fabulous guests. One, Jackie Traynere, is our current Will County Board member, and then Josh Weger, who's going to talk about the Workers' Rights Amendment. So stay tuned, you have some interesting facts coming your way. Hello, Bolingbrook. With me again is Jackie Traynere. She's our Will County Board member representing most of Bolingbrook. And we're going to chat about a quick update on what's going on at the county, but our favorite topic, hidden lakes. Hi, Jackie. Thanks for being with me today.
Hi, Barb. Yeah, it is my favorite topic. I love the Forest Preserve. It is probably the least controversial thing that we do as county board members is serving as Forest Preserve commissioners. It seems like the people in our community really do appreciate open space and nice open space.
As we found out earlier this year, when the water drained out of the lakes, we had a few very vocal residents complain about that.
Yes.
But our fabulous Forest Preserve came through, and things are really picking up there. I think there's only one lake now that doesn't have water in it, at least to capacity.
Yep, that's correct. Hopefully, in the spring, we'll be able to get that one completely filled. I'm not holding out hope for October. I mean, it could happen, but it takes a long time for that water level to come back up to where it was.
Well, they made a lot of progress because we have somebody, Robert, who you're going to get to see a couple of photos from. Robert goes and checks and posts things and gives an update. And he's posted about the signage there. Mm-hmm. He's very happy with the signage. We didn't have good signage before, so he's happy about that. And also with the fishing pier that was built, and that was good, and benches are put in.
Yes.
Now they're saying they want more benches, but they're happy that there are some there now.
Well, I actually, my husband and I made the decision in our family to spend the money to donate a bench. So our bench will be going in soon. It is going to go in under the overhang that is a part of the new bait shop that's being constructed.
Okay.
So we will be donating a bench, not paid for with tax dollars, but paid for with my hard-earned dollars. And we're very excited about all the changes there, from the new piers to the signage, which, by the way, I didn't even know the signage was coming. I'm driving down Boughton Road, and I'm right there at Schmidt, and I see the new sign. I almost wanted to grab my cell phone and take a picture, and I realized, you can't do that anymore. And but I was very, very excited to see the new sign. Excited to see that the cement is being poured for the new bait shop. Just a lot of really great improvements at that preserve, and it's long overdue. Some of those improvements have been needed, but it's overdue that the residents in our community have a Forest Preserve property. This is the first and the only Forest Preserve property in my county board district. And so I'm very, very excited about it. I do get the opportunity, though, and I take time to go to the other Forest Preserve properties. I went last Saturday to the grand opening of a new fish tank at the Four Rivers Conservation Area. It's a beautiful old house that we've converted into kind of like a banquet facility, but also an educational area. And we opened a fish tank. It had crappies, bluegill, walleye, smallmouth bass, and a catfish in it.
Wow.
So a little bit on the order of what you see at the fishing store on the end of town there by the promenade. So it was kind of nice to be there for the grand opening of that. And we got to watch a lot of white pelicans migrating through. So just, we have fascinating preserves with many amenities.
There's a lot of stuff that's going on at Hidden Oaks, too. They offer a lot of educational programs, and it would be nice if the parents would take their kids, especially young kids. There's a lot of activities for them to do there.
There are.
So they should check out the website and sign up for any activity that interests you. Take advantage of what we have here in Bolingbrook.
Yes, and you can sign up for the Weekly 5 as well. It's an emailed newsletter from the Forest Preserve. Tells you about 5 fantastic events each week. They could be anywhere in the district, so they aren't always obviously in our immediate area. But they are interesting things like going out to look for owls, going on bird walks, learning about bees, just a variety of different things. And it tends to ebb and flow with the season. So sometimes we'll be having something about hummingbirds. Other times, it'll be about owls or dog sledding. We have a huge variety, something for everyone.
And to sign up for the newsletter, you just have to go to the Forest Preserve website.
Yes.
And then
reconnectwithnature.org. And you can sign up there for the newsletter.
good. Well, Bolingbrook, take advantage while you can. And please come out and visit Hidden Oaks and Hidden Lakes. There's lots of activities for you to do there. What's happening at the county level?
Thanks, Barb. Well, a couple of little things. We're in the process of sending out all the bids to find the builders and the creators of our new county morgue. The costs have escalated. That's been a little bit of a hardship, but we are able to use some of the American Rescue Act funds to help with the escalating costs, and that's just like everything these days with the supply chain issues and worker issues. But the morgue is moving along. We are in the process right now, actually, of working on the county budget. The part that we as county board members have the largest amount of input on is what they call the corporate fund. And the corporate fund is basically, for the most part, made up of your property taxes. So throughout the entire county, it's some $270 million that will go into this corporate fund to basically run the county government. That includes all the salaries, the health care, but that includes things like paper and copy machines and rent and just all your day-to-day expenses. And so we're in the process of trying to make sure that we have the most effective and efficient budget. And at the same time, we've begun the conversation about the levy for next year's tax levy. Both of those things will have to be passed before December 1st. That is our responsibility as a county board. And both sides work together, both the Democrats and the Republicans on the board, to take a serious look at the budget that has been presented by the county executive. And we look for ways where we can cut, and we look for areas that might need to be added to. And that's a very tedious process because there's an awful lot of line items. Our budget book is this thick.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a lot of information to look at, and we're working very diligently at making sure that we're funding all of the right things.
Very good. Well, Jackie, thanks for giving us that update. I appreciate you coming on and the time that you give so that the residents have a little better idea of what's going on. So thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Love being on your show.
Hi, Bolingbrook. With me right now is Josh Weger. And he's going to talk about the Workers' Rights Amendment that's on the ballot this November. Hopefully, we'll answer all of your questions. Josh, thank you so much for being with me today.
Thanks, Barb.
Why don't we start off with you telling me a little bit about yourself?
Okay, great. Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and every opportunity we get to educate folks on this issue, we want to take that opportunity. So, a little bit about me. I am currently employed with the Indiana-Illinois-Iowa Foundation for Fair Contracting. It's a nonprofit foundation, been in business about 23 years, and it's dedicated to really the betterment of the construction industry. And so I serve as policy director at the foundation, and so I head up the research and analysis, the policy development, and the strategic planning for the foundation. And that's what.
Okay, my next question then is, how did your group get involved with the Workers' Rights Amendment?
Yeah, so since, again, we're dedicated to the betterment of the construction industry, the construction industry is one where labor issues are very important and always prominent, and a large portion of the industry is organized, unionized, if you will. And our organization is actually kind of like a joint venture between Local 150 Operating Engineers Union and participating contractors. So we are pro-union, pro workers being organized, and so we made the decision to sign on to the campaign and participate in the campaign to try to get the Workers' Rights Constitutional Amendment adopted in the general election.
Now, since you mentioned construction, the first thing that comes into my mind then is safety issues.
Right.
Will the Workers' Rights Amendment deal with any things to make workers safer in the workplace?
Yeah, the answer is yes. So the Workers' Rights Amendment is a proposed constitutional amendment that will be on the ballot in the general election, and it's going to be up to the voters to decide if they want to adopt this amendment or not. The amendment, in a nutshell, will give workers in the state of Illinois the constitutional right to organize and bargain collectively if they want to. So we'll be codifying that opportunity for workers into the state constitution. And one thing that we know about workers who are organized, really in all industries, but in particular in construction, is that organized workers are safer workers. That's not, that's a proven fact when you do the research, as my organization does. So across the board, we have better safety outcomes when workers are organized. But again, I want to make clear that this amendment, if it passes, will not require workers to organize. It will not require anyone to join a union. It's not forcing anyone to do anything. It's just creating a right. And what is a right? Well, a right is something that you can do if you want to, but you don't have to. So a right is a choice. And we want to make sure that by codifying this right in the state constitution, that workers always have that right, and that right can't be taken away by future politicians. So we're putting this out of the reach of future politicians. That's the idea behind the amendment.
Now, another thing that I've read, there's certain conservative groups that are saying this is going to raise your property tax.
Right. So the opposition to this amendment has been led by, a group of individuals. One of them is known as the Illinois Policy Institute, which is kind of a right-wing think tank / political leaning influence type organization. It's actually affiliated with a whole number of other organizations as well, like Wire Points is one of the names of them, the Liberty Justice Center, and the opposition campaign is being financed by a gentleman named Dick Uihlein. That's a billionaire businessman. He's donated $1 million to the opposition campaign so far. He's also the primary financier behind Darren Bailey's campaign for governor against the incumbent governor, J.B. Pritzker. But to your question, yes, they are making a claim that somehow this amendment to just codify the rights that workers have today in Illinois, which is to organize and bargain if they choose to, would somehow raise property taxes. And that's a complete fabrication. I don't know what else to say. It's entirely phony, bogus, and fraudulent. There is not a speck of truth to it. This amendment doesn't deal with taxes. Property taxes are levied by local governments, city governments, village governments, township governments, school districts. This will not have anything to do with taxes, and it won't raise taxes one dime or one nickel or one penny. So claims have been coming at this amendment that have been increasingly outlandish. I could tell you some more I've heard. One of them is that if this passes, that prison wardens will be forced to bargain with prison inmates. That also is a false claim being made by the opposition group. I mean, they get more and more creative by the day. Some very interesting claims. But I can assure you that all this amendment does is puts Illinois workers' right to organize and bargain into a lockbox and codifies those rights so that they can't be taken away by, for example, if we were to have another anti-worker, anti-labor governor come along like we had with our previous governor.
Now, I also read that in order for this to pass, 60% of the voters have to vote for it.
That is correct. There's actually two ways that this can pass, according to the law. The first way is that if 60% of those who vote on the question and don't skip the question, if 60% say yes, it passes. The other way it can pass is that if 50% of those who simply cast a ballot vote yes, it will pass. So
Oh.
so a little confusing, but there's two ways that it can pass. Now the first one is interesting. When we say 60% of those who actually vote the question, you might ask why that is. Well, it's interesting. We've done a lot of research, and we've found that in every election cycle, when there's a ballot question or a referendum question on the ballot, a certain number of voters skip the question and move on down and vote for candidates, for politicians, for names of people, but they skip the question. Why is that? Political science gives us some answers to that question. We've done a lot of research. We find that some people are just kind of suspicious of ballot questions. They're not totally sure if they understand the ramifications of the ballot question. Often the questions are in a little bit legalese type language, and that makes some people uncomfortable. Other people have said in surveys and in research that they just felt sort of just a little confused by listening to the two sides do their messaging for and against the ballot question for months on end, and they just became weary of it. And they said, well, maybe some voter who's better educated on it than I should decide this question, and I'll just skip that and go down to the candidates. So there's a few reasons, but we've actually seen in past election cycles in Illinois where as many as 20% of those who casted a ballot skipped the ballot question. Now, that's a large number. That's a big undervote. Some people would refer to that. So we're working on trying to help people feel comfortable, feel educated about the amendment so we can get them to a yes vote.
That was my next question for you. I saw that you've had two different commercials on TV that I've seen, and they're both very good, and hopefully they're answering some of the questions. But what are other means that you're going out to the public to reach them, to educate them on why they should vote yes?
Right. So the television commercials are a big piece, and it's an expensive piece of our overall campaign plan. But we're hitting this from several different angles. We've currently got a pretty aggressive field program built up around the state where we're sending volunteers out to talk to voters at their homes about the amendment and provide information, reading materials about the amendment. We're reaching out to folks through organizations, community organizations, nonprofits. Of course, local unions are educating their members about it as well. But for this to pass, we'll have to have a lot more votes than from just union members. So we have to reach out to the broader electorate, and we're working hard on that. And the good news is this amendment is for everybody. Everybody in Illinois stands to benefit from this amendment, not just union members, but the stronger the labor climate in the state, we have research that shows that a rising tide lifts all boats, and it puts it tends to increase wage standards, compensation standards, standards for providing health insurance and retirement benefits to all workers, all people in the workforce, the labor force, whether they're union members or not. So we've got the facts on our side, we've got the research on our side, and it's just a matter of educating the voters about that. And that's what we're doing.
Well, I like the amendment itself because it seems to me it doesn't force anybody to do anything.
That's right.
It's just there, and if the people want to take advantage, if it passes, they can elect to do so, but they're not forced to. So for me, I'm like, why are some of the other side going to such extreme measures now to scare people? Because that's what they're doing with their scare tactics, raising taxes and things they're going to negotiate with prisoners. It's
right.
ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, and but if you've had some political experience with these groups that I mentioned before, how do I put this? They're not shy about making arguments that are, and put this politely, political arguments rather than factual arguments. And that's kind of the name of the game for this whole, this whole kind of far right element in the state of Illinois, led by, the Illinois Policy Syndicate and some of these billionaire financiers and the Liberty Justice Center. But yeah, I mean, the notion that this would raise someone's property taxes, it's absurd. This doesn't create new rights, the constitutional amendment. It doesn't create new powers. It takes the rights that are in the state law today and codifies them. That's it. So the idea that it would raise property taxes, even a dime, is a total fabrication.
Josh, thanks so much for being on my show. I appreciate you taking the time to help educate Bolingbrook on what the Workers' Rights Amendment is all about.
Well, Barb, thanks for having me. This has been great. Every opportunity we have to talk to voters about this topic, we want to do it, and I appreciate it very much.
Well,
Thanks.
thank you. Well, Bolingbrook, remember, vote yes on the ballot, whether you're voting in person, early voting, or on election day. It's the first question you'll see on your ballot. Please vote yes. And if you have any questions, Josh's information is going to be here. Please reach out and he'll be happy to answer any questions you may have so that you're comfortable with voting yes on election day. Thanks, Bolingbrook. We'll see you next time. Well, Bolingbrook, I hope you got as much information out of this as I did today. I've learned a lot about the Workers' Rights Amendment that's going to be on the ballot in November, and all about Hidden Lakes and the wonderful update going on with Will County. Take care till next time, Bolingbrook. Bye-bye.